That's right, everybody. Just exactly what you've been asking for. A white man telling you about Get Out.
I think it's what we've all wanted. Is a white person telling us,
Unfortunately.
people of color, how to feel about the world.
You're gonna lean into that one today, huh?
I'm gonna lean into that because between the two of us, somebody has to, and it looks a lot weirder for one of us.
Looks
more
a
than the
little
other.
weirder for me to do it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's fair. I think that's a very fair thing.
Yeah.
So, do you want to do the thing? I was about to, just instinctually.
Oh, I mean, hey, you full-time MFers, it's full-time movie fans.
I'm your host, Jarvis.
And I'm your host, Michael. And we're here to talk about movies. And it's specifically one that is about you, really.
Oh, no. Yeah, I am generally oppressed by white people. That's what you're trying to say, right?
No, I'm trying to say that you need to get out now. Get out of here.
Get out. Get out. Get out.
No, I'm just kidding. No, but yeah, this is full-time movie fans. This is going to be our first thriller slash
and it's a good
horror
one.
type movie.
I think it's technically a psychological horror. It says dark comedy, psychological horror, psychological thriller. Supernatural horror, suspense, mystery, horror, mystery, thriller. That's what it says.
Yeah, what he said.
All of those.
All the above. Letter D.
Yeah.
All the above.
I saw Get Out not in the theaters, but shortly after it left.
Oh, no.
I did miss that opportunity. I have seen every other Jordan Peele movie in theaters, though.
Can we just talk about how impressive Jordan Peele is from being like a comedic genius and his sketch comedies with Key and Peele?
It has a very specific voice when it comes to horror movies.
Dude.
It's great.
It's so good.
Yeah.
It's so hard to be new. It's so hard to do something that's truly original. And I'm not saying that what he did was truly original, but what I'm saying is that what he did was fresh and it felt new.
Yeah.
Because again, in this day and age, you can always compare one thing to another thing that happened before it. But, packaging is very important.
I'm going to say something controversial right off the bat. You ready?
Here we go, guys.
I don't like how political other people get about his movies. Because outside of him being black and him casting black people in a movie that he wrote for them.
How dare he?
People, like, the movies are just solid movies.
Yeah, they're very solid.
They stand on their own through the test of time. And I believe, and I might be like paraphrasing from something I heard way long ago, but I believe that he did Jordan Peele did an interview at some point where somebody was like, "Whoa, why do you?"
He did at some point.
Why do you? Yeah, right. Why do you keep writing movies about black people? Why are you ever going to cast like a white person as like a lead character? And he said, "I mean, I could, but like, what would be the point of that?" They already starred so many movies. Yeah. I'm trying to put my voice into something.
Yeah.
And I think that that's an important thing to remember is that everybody has their own voice.
Representation is very important.
Representation, to a point, I think is very important. I don't think forced representation does any good. Where it's like, oh, we need to put an Asian man in this movie because we don't have any. I think that it should be an authentic, this is the person that fits this part.
Well, here's what I would say to that. I would say, get out. No, I'm just kidding.
Nice.
I would say, forced or not, I think it doesn't really matter to the person getting the opportunity. You know what I mean? Like back in the day, blaxploitation, when they were all the rich white people were taking advantage of black people and making them famous because they could sing and just profiting more off of their talents.
Yeah.
That was, I'm sure, forced. I'm sure a lot of people didn't want that.
Right.
But the people that got the opportunities, I'm sure, it didn't mean much to them. I mean, it meant a lot to them. You know what I'm saying? So I would say, for instance, if someone was going to give me $100 as a joke, I would still be grateful.
Yeah.
Whether it was like I'm giving him $100 to help him
I
out,
understand
or
what you're saying.
or like look at this brokey, I'm just gonna give him $100 because it means nothing to me. I'm just gonna be like, hey, you know what?
Yeah.
Thanks for the $100.
At some point, the joke's on them because you got $100.
Yeah. Speaking of jokes,
I get that.
Speaking of jokes,
Oh no.
we're talking about Get Out.
Oh no. I will say the caveat to what I just said about representation being forced is a bad thing. I can't think of any specific like example of where forced representation was bad.
Well,
so I mean, your point stands.
Yeah.
We have
something. We have some.
Okay, we'll get to that.
Here's what I'll also make another point, just to drive in the nail further into the casket of your statement.
Yeah, go ahead.
If you remember, slavery was once part of our country.
Yeah.
And the reason we don't have slavery anymore is because we forced people who wanted to keep slaves, we forced them to not have them. So sometimes it's okay to force goodness into the world against other people's wills.
Okay. What interesting way around my point.
So
sure,
forced representation, hey, if we have to.
So Jarvis, what were your first impressions about this movie? Before.
Yeah.
Caveat to my statement: this is a very politically charged movie. Not like a very, very politically charged movie, but it does talk about like
politics. It mentions Obama.
It talks about how this is a very touchy subject. And so it's a really hard to explain it without like, because the movie does a really good job subtly talking about it, but it's not like what people would consider. What is it? What is the phrase when people use other people's ethnicities for? I don't remember. I'm white. I don't have to worry about these things.
Yeah,
that was also a joke. Please
showing.
don't. But it's Jordan Peele's way of explaining how it feels to be a black man around other people who are not black, trying to be like,
white.
No, I really like your skin tone's great. I wish I could have it. You know, that's the thing he's trying to explain in this movie is like it's weird for people to try to like take the things that they want from your identity and leave out the rest of it.
And I just want to say, in a greater context, a red flag for anybody who's out there listening or may hear this, if someone compliments your skin in a way that this like kind of alludes to them wanting it, maybe avoid that person.
Yeah.
In any context.
Yeah. There was a guy who did that once. His name's Ed Gaines, and it did not end well.
Yeah. I don't know.
Cultural appropriation. That was the phrase. That's what I was looking for.
There it is.
This movie is not about cultural appropriation.
We get there eventually at Full-Time Movie
I don't
Fans.
think. I could be wrong. I'm not trying to explain problems with racial tension, because that's also a touchy spot for me to be in. I'm trying to talk about a movie that I like a lot.
We're talking about a movie, but I mean it's a part of the movie, so you're forced to talk about it on the internet. So
this was a bad idea. this movie, I'm sweating. Is it hot in here?
You know what I think is funny though? Both of the movies we're gonna do in this session, you won't see them. They're gonna be a week apart for you.
Yeah,
were your
subscribe
picks this time? Actually, I actually it was more like, hey,
should we do this?
Here's a list.
Yeah,
and you picked Get Out. So
yeah,
and I was like, fine.
And you were much happier about this one than you are about the other one.
I don't remember the other ones anymore. I've already moved on. That's in my past. So speaking of the past,
yeah, how was your
Get Out?
How was your first impression of the movie?
Dude, I was. It's a feeling that you don't get to feel very often. I would say these days in movies is just being completely floored by seeing something new and interesting. Again, it's not like there are very few things that I would say are 100% brand new, completely unique. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
But what I will say about Get Out is that it felt new, it felt unique, and the way that it was packaged was just, again, it was just so well done, and it boggles the mind, especially when you look at Jordan Peele's career up to this point. You would never expect this to come out of him.
Yeah.
And I don't mean greatness. I mean
Like a very serious movie.
A very serious movie with very serious subtext and allegories. Is that the correct word that I could use?
It's when we get to the
metaphors?
part, we discussed this off camera. When we get to the part where we have to explain the plot of the movie, it's going to be probably one of the worst ones that we've done, just because this, like, it's a very simple plot with dripping in subtext.
Oh yeah,
And
oozing
I'm not going to be able to cover it all.
subtext coming out of your eyeballs.
Yeah, this is one of those that you absolutely have to watch to get, because if I explain it, it's going to be like, oh, this is a rom-com.
Well, this is one of the great things about this movie is because is that when you watch it, you want to watch it again, and when you watch it again, you pick up on new stuff. I would say, to me, that's a mark of a good movie, is that if I want to watch it again, and if I do rewatch it, and if I rewatch it and I find something new or pick up on something I didn't before. And this is one of those movies. It's a movie with layers. And so in a different way, I would
Like
say
an
more,
onion.
Yes.
Or a parfait.
Yes, like a parfait, like a layered cake, if you will. Or a swamp ogre. They have layers. And so does this movie.
Yeah.
And
It all comes back to Shrek.
yes, Larb can always be found.
Glorb can always be found.
Yes, and so speaking of Glarbs, it makes me feel like I was witness to something very important. Is how I felt after watching the movie. I was like, this is a really important movie, and in a much better way than Predestination. It has those layers that are more subtle that you do have to think about, that you do have to pay attention to catch the nuanced things that he has layered in there. So that was my first impression. How about you?
Would you recommend it?
Guys, I highly recommend this movie. I highly recommend all of Jordan Peele's movies. To be honest with you, I think they're all great. Some better than others, but I mean, to me, I don't think he's. When you look at like M. Night Shyamalan, you'd be like, ooh, that was a swing and a miss.
Yeah.
I really don't think that Jordan Peele is yet to miss. He may not have had a home runs on some of his other ones, but he definitely connected. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
To use a sport reference, baseball specifically.
Yeah.
And what about you? My more pale complected friend.
So my 23andMe says I'm 95% white. I don't know. I've never done one. That was just the way. That was just a great way to start it. So I had what? Okay, yeah, you're laughing. Was it? It was just awkward. I had every opportunity to go see this movie in theaters. I was invited multiple times by one of my friends who loves horror movies more particularly, and I don't. I don't like horror movies that much. I don't like thrillers. I'm that psychopath that will sit in a movie theater in a horror movie and just laugh at all the parts that you're supposed to be scared at. Yeah. Like, I laughed through half of Hereditary.
That is not a funny movie.
It is if you're me. You telling me that the one shot where it's like so much tension and then in the corner you just see a figure and then it goes, it wasn't funny? It's so funny. No. Okay. Well... but I didn't watch it because it was one of those movies that I felt was like way too overhyped at the time, where like everybody was telling me, "Oh, you have to go see this movie. It's so good. You have to go and see it." And I'm like, "It's
like Parasite."
Yeah, like Parasite. It's like, it's a horror movie. I'm not that into it, and I don't really want to. And then I, on a whim, just watched it one day by myself, and I was like, "Oh no, this is awesome."
Yeah,
this is an awesome movie.
Mm-hmm.
It has every aspect of like a psychological thriller that I love.
Yeah.
Makes you think, makes you feel for your characters, does stuff that horror doesn't really do often. I think that there's like two types of modern horror.
Yeah.
And it's the Jordan Peele psychological thriller. It's like talking about something.
Right.
And then the exact like extreme opposite is Ari Aster with Hereditary and Midsummer and all that, that fun stuff, which is just like cult horror.
Yeah.
And so I think that Jordan Peele does it better than anybody else does right now. Like modern horror. There's still like classic horror movies.
Yeah.
Things that Blumhouse does generally.
Yeah.
Like the weird Saw movies, the gory stuff. But between the two names, those two are doing it better than anybody else. And I much prefer Jordan Peele movies over Ari Aster movies.
Yeah.
Just because I like thinkers more than I like
stinkers,
weird culty things. Although I am a fan of the weird culty things too. Those are fun. So I recommend it. It's very good. You should watch it. And that's coming from me. And my complexion tells you that I'm always right. So
yeah,
I'm really trying to ham it up for this one. That I'm not the right person to be doing this review.
I mean, I guess, we talk about movies, so it's kind of okay for us to, but also I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Because I am half white, half Asian.
Wasian, as we call them.
Yeah. And then kind of adopted into Mexican culture by living in San Antonio my whole life.
Yeah.
And none of those are very, very close to being African American. So
no. And all have their own different problems.
Right. I just happen to be a little bit darker than you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Hey, full-time MFers, you like this video? 'Cause we sure did. If you liked it, maybe you should share it with your friends. Maybe like the video and subscribe.
If we were you, that's what we would do. If I was watching this,
I'd be all over that.
Like, and I'd hit that share, and then I would hit that subscribe in that order.
Yeah. There's also another video that's popped up. YouTube thinks you like this one, so you should watch that one now.
See you next time.